Yo, okay, so I know I look raggedy, but right now I'm technically on vacation. So, I is Anarchist Darkness, also known as Sir Killinson of Killerstruck, and this is my pregnant wife. All right, so the Washington Redskins got to change that name. It's been a long time coming. So, yeah. So as you guys know, I haven't been really been watching the NFL for like 3 years. I think this year will technically make the fourth season. Since Colin Kaepernick hadn't been in the NFL, I stopped watching. So I stopped giving a fuck. Um, Obviously, this year they're gonna have no choice but to get that man his job back, especially after they went back and did what they did. Um, Talking about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. You would have cared when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, and then y'all had to wait all the way until a motherfucker decided uh, to motherfuckers start burning down targets and shit. You waited that long, and then now Colin Kaepernick is right. You want to run a Colin Kaepernick? Okay. Anyway, Washington has to change their name. Most black people, at least most black people I mess with, understand why you should change said name. Um, I've never liked that name, especially after I figured out what it meant. I mean, I live in Washington D.C. Um, so the idea behind um, keeping that name has always been kind of stupid. I always felt like it was kind of a branding thing, because Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys. That whole bull crap. The Indians versus the Cowboys. That whole nonsense. So that's kind of a big branding thing because growing up, that was always like the Indians versus Cowboys, especially with the older crowd. The older crowd was always into like cowboy western movies, and the Indians were always the bad guys, and the Cowboys were always good guys. That whole bullshit. So I figured that was like a branding thing. But yeah. So I'm going to talk to you guys about concept of their logo and their name. So not too long ago, me and a friend of mine was talking about changing that name. He was like, you can't be in the streets talking about Black Lives Matter, but also rocking Redskin gear because the name is offensive. And it doesn't matter if one or two Native American people say that it's not offensive. The shit is offensive, right? So, so we were saying like we were talking about the logo. For me, I didn't ever have a problem with the logo. Obviously, I'm not Native American, so I can't really say whether it's offensive or not. But what I see when I see that logo, that specifically just the logo, not the name, the logo to me looks regal. Like the person looks, he looks like a proud Native person. Not so. So it didn't to me. It didn't seem very like um, messed up. That the logo was messed up because when I think about it, like when I compared it to is it the Braves? Is the Indians, the Cleveland Indians. You remember the original Cleveland Indians logo? The original Cleveland Indians logo, that logo, where the logo is basically a Sambo just in red face. If you don't know what Sambo is, look it up. Black people had to deal with Sambos practically in modern media their entire lives and still dealing with the shit. Um, so is to me, I always thought cool, but again, it's not up to me. It's up to people who the Native Americans. All right. What else? So the name. The name is the dumbest shit ever. Um, and it should have been changed a long ass time ago. I used to tell people all the time. I was like, Washington Redskins name is equivalent to if they decided to change the fucking Washington Redskins into the Spear Chucker, like Washington Spear Chuckers. Y'all would have a fucking problem with that shit, but you still fucking cheering for a team that says that's a fucking like fucking racist ass mantra, fucking name, right? So like Washington Sambos, that would offend you, right? That essentially the same fucking thing. Everybody don't get called a Sambo or a fucking spear chucker. It's one of those offensive terms that like you don't hear every day, like Washington porch monkey or some bullshit. You don't hear that all the time, or tar baby. You don't hear that all the time, but those are fucking racial terms that were used for African Americans for the longest of time. So, or black people rather in general. So, yeah. So name brainstorming. Obviously, I think right now the the top two names are probably the Warriors because you don't got to go that far. You can keep the not only can you keep the logo, you can also use the spear logo that the Skins used to use a long. Well, I say Skins. Washington used to use a long time ago. You can go with that, or you can go with the Red Tails. Somebody came up with that a long ass time ago. I can't remember who it was, but I feel it would be good because if you look at all the NFL teams, the NFL is like 70% African American, right? And there are no African American mascots there. The closest thing we got is like the Carolina Panthers. And it's not the Black Panthers, they're the Carolina Panthers. It just so happened the Panther itself happens to be black. Um, so that's the closest thing that African Americans have to a mascot in this country in general, um, uh, barring any teams out there, colleges that are named after something black, something African American specifically. But yeah, so it would be cool to have Washington Red Tails because not only you're only changing one part of it. So and if you don't know what the Red Tails is, I think it was a World War II. It was Army technically still. Army is like Army battalion. I don't know what you call it. Fleet.
It might have been World War.
It was a World War I. Red Tails.
I feel like it might have been.
I think it was. I think it was two because they escorted the Hindenburg, didn't they? Or they escorted bombers to like Paris or somewhere. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, you're right. World War II.
It was World War II. Yeah, they like escorted like
Nation's first African American aerial combat unit.
yeah aerial. It was all aerial combat unit. So I think that would be fair, a fair name because again, like we got like I was a Raiders fan. The Raiders logo is Al Davis's face. He's a white man. Oh, he's a Jewish white man. He's a Jewish white man. Uh, that's a white face. You go to the fucking Vikings. The Vikings, there's a logo of also another regal thing, a regal fucking a regal goddamn Icelandic man. Uh, the Buccaneers, that is very clearly a white dude, probably French. Who else? Patriots. The Patriots got a logo that's very clearly a white dude, even though the first person to fucking die for this country, specifically, first person to fucking die for this country was a black man. Okay, let's not pretend like Christmas, ancestor Christmas thing wasn't out there for this country. Who else? There are other ones too.
Who else has a person?
Who else has a person? Damn.
Somebody that I'm thinking of is like an animal.
Yeah, most mascots are animals.
Is it just a flag, right?
Who?
Buccaneers just a
No,
flag.
the Buccaneers. So it's now just a flag, but it used the pirate
Right.
is a very clearly a white dude.
Mm,
Pirates were slave traders as well. Just saying. Who else?
Steelers.
Oh, wait, the
What's
Steelers.
the symbol?
They had the symbol, but
But that's steel workers, so I
yeah,
imagine
that's
it's
steel workers.
probably.
Still, but that was a while ago. I don't think that really counts as much.
Mm,
That's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. So like the
the
Buccaneers,
Giants and the Jets don't
the
count.
Vikings, yeah, the Buccaneers, the Vikings, the Raiders, and
Patriots.
Patriots. I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, for the most part, logos in this country, or not logos, or the mascots in this country, at least the people mascots are all like white characters. So it'd be cool to have the Washington Red Tails because Red Tails were black. It's not Air Force; they were Air Battalion, Air Combat.
Airmen.
Because technically they were airmen. So technically they were, but they were not Air Force because Air Force didn't come until a little later. Like I think Air Force is like rather still new. So like I think they were Army technically. Red Tails were Army, so that would be an Army logo. Um, so obviously the Warriors, the Red Tails. Um, I think because they're the Washington, and we're not technically a state at least yet. I think we should go ahead and try the Washington Senators. I mean, throw back to like Negro leagues. I mean, fuck it, hook us up. I mean, we ain't gonna have senators here if we don't give us make us a state, make us the 51st state, which I doubt they're gonna do because if they don't do it with Puerto Rico, they're not gonna do it with us. I mean, if Hawaii could be a state, then Puerto Rico can be a state, but it's not, which is fucked up. Um, Wait, Puerto Rico is by the Virgin Islands, ain't they?
It's near it, yeah.
I was told like they're like close though. Like you can like take a boat there.
Yeah, from St. Croix to Puerto
Or say
Rico.
Corey to say, see, they might as well make that whole area one state.
Or they could let Puerto Rico be its own country again.
Uh,
Granted, there's a lot of economic stuff that goes with
I'm
that.
about to say because you're gonna have to pay them.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to pay them, give them money. Because otherwise, what's gonna happen? And
Anyway,
what I would hope the Puerto Ricans would do what the Haitians did, throw all the motherfuckers off that island. But then what's gonna happen is they're gonna end up poor like the Haitians.
yeah. Well, they're already, like, the economy's really fucked up because of the way the U.S. treats them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all right, but anyway, but I heard if Puerto Rico is not going to be a fucking 51st state, I doubt DC is going to be the 51st state. Again, we don't have senators, so go ahead. It could be Washington senators. I said monuments, but that's kind of whack. Uh, what else? Another good name we were talking about. Earlier I said if I bought a football team, I would buy a football team, put them in Harlem, and call them the Washington. I would call them the Harlem Hellfighters. That you can get something from that, black people who served the goddamn country. Um, mm, Washington Go Go would be whack. Mumbo sauce would be whack. Anyway, I'm just happy that Dan Snyder is going to have to change that name. He has no choice but to change that name. Otherwise, he's going to lose a shitload of money. He's going to change that name, and hopefully, he chooses the right name. More than likely, he'll probably, because he's such a bitter piece of shit, he'll probably just keep it like the Warriors or something whack. Well, Warriors is cool, whatever, but like again, uh, DC has a deep black history. It is also called Chocolate City, or was called Chocolate City before the Genties came over. So, like, what if we could just call them the Washington Red Tails? That would be a dope ass name, I think. And also considering football and how the Fort Passive has evolved over the years. I mean, their air combat unit, you can go with so much, man, so much. And all the black people who are mad about this, shut up, please, shut up. God damn it. I get tired. I get so tired. What? Look at me like that for. I get so tired of like black people who like call people like that's racist. Like nigga, then you gotta call everything out racist. You can't just call up one thing that's racist, just racist against black people. It's racist against fucking Native Americans, bro. Me and my mom used to argue about this all the goddamn time because she's a Washington fan. And then eventually she gave in and she stopped calling them Redskins and started just calling them Washington, right? I was like, that's a good compromise, but that doesn't change the name of the team. So let's hope. More than likely, they're going to change it because he's going to lose too much money. So within the next week, he's probably changing that name. They about to be the Washington Warriors more than likely, but it'd be cool if they do Red Tails. Yeah, I hope somebody put up a petition to change their name to the Washington Red Tails. I think I've seen that before. That would be some dope shit. All right, guys, I'm pretty much done with this live, and enjoy the view. With my toes out, hose out, toes out. All right, guys. Boop, 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 boop. How do I turn this off, nigga? Shit.